Game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
Would bring a lot of money to the tribes, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why?
Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
After every round, you guys were still up in each other's face, mouthing off before you went back to your corners, trying to get not just the last punch, but the last word. What was the move between you guys? Obviously, you're in there for your fight.
It didn't cut him. It didn't stunt him. A point wasn't taken away. There's no reason to even mention something like that. You're in a brawl. Things are happening. Accidents happen.
Only on SportsGrid.
You are just about updated on everything you need to know in the sports landscape for today. Pete giving us the ice advice. We're going to have some Masters talk coming up next. The banter between myself and Joe Ranieri has been spectacular over the first 2 hours of the show. But you know what, guys? We have one more hour to go and even more hot topics to let it rip on Joe. Is the energy high? You feeling good down there in Florida? Let's go.
I'm ready to go here, Donnie. I am looking forward to being done with the regular season in the NHL and NBA. Let the playoffs begin, my friend. Let them begin.
Now, we're going to talk in just a few moments here because hour number 3, first segment, we love to get the people's opinion here on our Fade the Public poll. I want to hold off for just a moment because the hot topic tonight by far is going to be the Dallas Mavericks taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. Luka Doncic returning home. Does he play or not play? Does LeBron play or not play? It's going to be an emotional night. Now, we were trying to figure out and saying, how do the Dallas Mavericks actually treat tonight as sort of a, hey, welcome back, Luka, or we acknowledge him a little bit at this point, or what's going to happen? Shams Charania just tweeted about 5 minutes ago, 6 minutes ago? And he retweeted something from the trade, which happened on February the 2nd, where he's like, okay, the Dallas Mavericks are trading Luka Doncic. You get the picture here. So now he retweets that and puts a quote on it. And just over 2 months later, Luka Doncic makes his return to Dallas tonight on ESPN, 7:30 tip time, as the Los Angeles Lakers take on the Mavericks. A tribute video and thank you shirts are planned inside the Mavs arena. So conflicting reports on what's actually going on with the Dallas Mavericks. You hear that and see that tweet here, Joe. What are your thoughts?
Who's making the shirts? You're talking Dallas? I mean, who is? So they're going to be handing out these thank you, Luka t-shirts to Dallas? Come on. You got to be. He's not playing. There is no way he's playing here tonight. My money is Luka is going to come down with some sort of illness before anything happens here. Now, didn't they do the same thing for Anthony Davis? I think when they played the Lakers in LA, they did a whole tribute to him, and Anthony Davis could have cared less here. I don't think you're going to get the same situation here with Luka. He loved the fans. I know that. He was a big Dallas guy. He loved the fans. It's going to be emotional, but it's also 3 games left in the season. I don't know after paying 31 minutes why this makes any other sense other than it's Dallas and they're wearing T-shirts thanking you. Yeah. Okay, no, we're good. Donnie, I thought, listen, I blew Donnie away with that as he had absolutely no answer as to how in the world a T-shirt would be a good enough reason for Luka to play in this game here tonight. I'm shocked he played last night. I quite honestly am. There was no reason. I don't think any of us thought yesterday with Dallas on deck why Luka would go up against Oklahoma City, who, by the way, had just handled business against the Lakers tonight. A couple of nights prior there, it was the, one of those great back-and-back situations there that the NBA loved to schedule this year. But we thought for sure he'd miss that. He'd sit that one out. He'd play here tonight. But after a pretty grueling game and a very physical game last night, it was very, very chippy. He played 31 minutes before he actually got thrown out of the game by Tony Brothers, the ref there for... Apparently, according to Donnie Brothers, there was some profanity that was sent towards an official in the game. But, everyone watched the replay and everyone looked at it. And Luka was talking smack to one of the fans after scoring a bucket. Really had nothing to do with the, with the ref at that particular point. And he gets tossed anyway. So you get teed up like that. It's not like we don't have a history of this with Luka, but the minute he left that game, the wheels fell off of the LA Lakers there last night. So you got to wonder, after an emotional game like that last night, OKC is the team to beat in the West. We all know this. What are we going to get from him tonight? I'm not of the belief he's playing tonight here. And if he does, I think it's going to be very brief here. They've got bigger fish to fry here if you're the Lakers. And if Luka goes, LeBron probably doesn't. And did anybody see this line being what it is right now? What are we looking at? 3.5 points? It opened up at 4. I mean, the money is not coming towards the LA Lakers at this point, which leads me to believe that maybe one or the other may not be playing here tonight for the Lakers, which is unfortunate. But it's not going to stop the celebration. It's not going to stop the Dallas Mavericks from doing the tribute and the thank you and the T-shirts and this has been circled now ever since February 2nd, which was when he was traded to the LA Lakers. Everyone's been looking forward to this, and I get it, but I just don't see any reason in the world why it is that the Lakers would have played them last night trying to go toe-to-toe with the Western Conference best team in the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then you end up losing anyway, 136-120, because he ends up getting thrown out of that game. So maybe he comes back and maybe he sees his teammates. Maybe he doesn't. I don't think he's going to be on the court all that much here tonight. But he's not the only big story, obviously, in the NBA, because we got a lot that we learned yesterday before any games even tipped off, especially with the former champs, the Denver Nuggets. And my goodness, the Denver Nuggets end up clearing house just 6 days before the postseason, firing not only their head coach, Mike Malone, but their general manager at the same time. And it's got a lot of people scratching their head, which is why our Fade the Public question centers around those Denver Nuggets. And of course, their ability to somehow just kind of blow up the team just 6 days before the postseason. So the question we asked was, are the Nuggets more likely to lose in the first round to each other or reach the Western Conference Finals? So is it feast or famine for the Denver Nuggets? Are they going to lose in round 1 because of this dysfunction, or are they going to reach the West Finals? And unless by firing their general manager and head coach somehow or another, they're going to figure out a way to play defense, I don't see how this guy... I'm so in agreement with the public here. It's not even funny, Donnie. I so think that this is just going to go and backfire, and this is going to go hard left. I also voted lose in round one. None of it makes any sense. You could have waited till they lost in round one, Donnie, and then cleared house and fired everyone, except I think they kind of solidified that this team's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Exactly. And we try to say, what makes the most sense of the situation here and what is the prognosis of the future? That they just trying to, an assistant coach maybe can catch lightning in a bottle and win a couple playoff rounds where the team responds to them? Is this going to be an off season where, again, you're rebuilding the front office? And if you pick your general manager, he's going to want to pick his own head coach at that point, right? So that's the way I angle it as well. But for me, it just seems like a lost cause. Weren't you better, Joe, just riding this out just to see if it worked and then firing at the end of the season? It just would make it so much more simple to me.
Yeah, I agree, Donnie. I mean, what is the rush? Because in all likelihood, they're not going to learn how to play defense anytime soon, and they're probably bounced out earlier rather than later. Then you clear house. I don't understand the timing.
Exactly. You know what you can do now? Michael Malone can go watch the Masters tournament this weekend, relax and kick his feet up because we got some Masters action coming up with Keith Stewart, our resident PGA expert, drops by the early line next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Hour number 3 officially underway, having some fun. The hot topic certainly.
Yes, hot topics definitely flying around here. We appreciate that, Donnie, on the early line, but maybe no bigger topic than the one we're going to talk about right now as the Masters is getting ready to take center stage. And our good friend Keith Stewart in the house, live from Augusta, joining us here. And Keith, there is just something, I don't know, there's just something beautiful about this time of year and this tournament really signifying the start of the major season on the PGA Tour. And I don't know anybody that doesn't have some memories of growing up and watching the Masters unfold. And here we are 24 hours away from it happening once again.
You know, Joe, to your point, to me as a kid growing up, opening day was this. It's Thursday. It's round one of the Masters. It had nothing to do with baseball. I mean, this is a rite of passage for all sports fans that springtime is here. I remember Greg Norman back in the day with the flowing blonde locks and the shark logo. And I just love every minute of it. Tiger, Jack, everything, the tradition, unlike any other.
So what is the what's the vibe around the course here? I'd asked you off air about any weather concerns. We've had some weather issues over the last couple of Masters. Don't think we're going to have any, though. It looks like sunshine, beautiful, and fast greens, the way it should be.
You know, absolutely, Joe. You know, earlier in the week, we got a little storm front that came through Sunday into Monday. You know, there was trouble with the practice rounds, the patrons being here. But guess what? You know, right now, the golf course is in absolutely phenomenal shape. They have perfect weather for the par 3 contest this afternoon. Everybody is excited about what's about to happen. The anticipation, the vibe is anticipation. The best players in the world, so many of them are playing very, very well. Scotty, Rory, Rahm, you know, Colin, all of these guys, you know, the guys that we all love to cheer for and we would love to see win another or their first green jacket are completely ready to go. The vibe here is like, can we get this thing started, please?
You got to love defending champ Scotty Scheffler coming into this one. Can he go back-to-back is a big question. The only difference between here and a year ago is it doesn't feel like he's in the same kind of form this year heading into Augusta as he was last year. But let's be realistic. Anything outside of top 5 or top 10 would be a utter disappointment here for Scotty Scheffler.
You know, Joe, you bring up a really good point there about form. Is Scotty's form like last year? No, but he won, 9 times around the world? So, like, it may never get there again. Tiger's form never matched that of 2000 again, but his form is still the number 1 player in the world. And this is a place about not making mistakes. It's about just being super, super patient as you go around the golf course. The superpowers you need here, you know, Keith's keys, the number 1 priority is you got to have experience here. You have to know the grounds. There's no doubt that sometime after your 3rd or 4th start is really where guys start to really try to hit their peak in playing in the Masters. The second thing is you've got to be a great approach player. There's nobody better than Scotty. Whether it's a long iron or a wedge, he controls his trajectory and his spin better than anybody, and that's a super test here. And the third thing is that you have to be creative and you have to have incredible around the green acumen. And Scotty scores like none other from 30 yards and in. And we heard about it all day yesterday in the press room. It's you know, you have to be creative around the greens. It's these green complexes. It's the putting. It's the chipping. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. People are talking about rain earlier in the week. I am talking about firm and fast conditions from Saturday and Sunday to determine your Augusta champion. And Scotty will be right there because he will minimize his mistakes.
You and I have talked, Keith, this year, and over the first 3 months of the season, this looks like a different Rory McIlroy to me.
Oh, yeah.
His demeanor, his swing, his approach to the game, even on Sundays. And we weren't sure what we were going to get after the meltdown last year with Bryson DeChambeau. So he really seems to have taken it to a different level. This is the one bugaboo. This tournament is the one that's escaped him. What do we get from him this week?
Well, I think when it comes to Rory, it's the history about the Masters that really tends to consume some of the competitors, right? It's his 17th start. It's his 11th chance at the career Grand Slam. All the pundits are just punishing us with that over and over and over again. What it comes down to me for Rory is that is he familiar with failure? And he is. We all saw it last year at Pinehurst, right? I give Rory his best chance ever to pull this off because his headspace yesterday in the interview room was pretty darn strong, and the ball striking is even better. I mean, there's only one guy statistically in Q1 that's hitting the ball better than Rory and Scotty, and that's Colin, and we can get to him in a second. But Rory, for himself, His game fits this place. He knows exactly what it's going to take. For him, it's really about not being anxious. It's about using that P word again, that patience word. Like, he really just needs to plod his way around for 72 holes. He needs to stay close to the lead because we know that that's the case here at Augusta National. But overall, I think Rory is going to make a run. Whether or not he pulls it off is going to have a lot to do with, how much this history haunts him.
Well, and Morikawa is the same thing, right? You'd mentioned nobody's hitting the ball statistically. He's off the charts. But what about Sunday? That's what you got to worry about with Morikawa if he's in front.
Morikawa, I'll use the word combative. And it wasn't even with the media yesterday. It was kind of like with himself. He was asked another question about, leaving Bay Hill, not talking to reporters, the place where he doubled down at the players, where all the great players we were together last month. And Colin, he was very agitated by asking that question again. And he had to explain himself again. And he kind of dug a deeper hole. And I'm like, man, if this guy's worried about something like this, I mean, this shouldn't be anything close. He should have just kind of blew the question off. But he dug in deeper. To me, that shows he's thinking about Sundays more than you and I are, Joe.
Phil Mickelson, first round leader? I just got to throw it out there.
Joe, I tell you what, everyone has these tiered pools and contests. There's DFS strategy. There's all of this. Phil in the over 50 crowd, he's definitely, I'd lean heavier on him than I would Bernhard Langer. But you bring up a good point. First round leaders, if you're into that category or not, and you bet it, it doesn't matter. Your top 10, right? Only twice in this century has one player come from outside the top 10 after round one and won the Masters. And that's Tiger Woods. He did it in 05 and he did it in 19. So you got to pay attention to that top 10 after Thursday. I'll see you guys tomorrow with more reports.
Keith Stewart, enjoy it, my man. Beautiful time of year. And the early line, we got more coming your way next year on the Grid.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have force plates and 3D motion and launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of this ongoing, how do you continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Florida won by 6. Houston won by 3. Florida won by 2 last night in the national championship game. Third fewest points of a total margin in a Final Four.
The Final Four, both games were phenomenal right to the end. You watch the game on Monday night here in the National Championship game, phenomenal all the way to the end. Sometimes just as a sports fan, as a non-gambler, that's all you can ask for, and that delivered in a big way.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
These guys are barreling everything right now that are hitting well. Pitching is usually ahead of hitting this time of year, but torpedo bats is what we're reading about, Tom, and I think it's hilarious.
Will the pitching be out in front, or are the bats actually this strong? So it's going to develop over the course of weeks. And again, if all teams have the ability to do so, be creative with it and get out there and use it.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. If Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
Would bring a lot of money to the tribe, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in the early line here as we are getting ready for the Masters. There is nothing like it. Keith Stewart joining us here once again live from Augusta. And Keith, let's dive into some of the guys that we like in this week's Masters. And we talked about Scotty Scheffler, Rory, your favorites. But there are some really big numbers down the board, especially when I'm looking at, you're talking about experience, right? So how about a Brooks Koepka? How about a Joaquin Niemann? Guys that have been, or Bryson DeChambeau, guys that have been dominating on their tour. It feels like out of sight, out of mind with some of these guys, including Jon Rahm. Why not one of those guys taking down the trophy this year?
You know, I'm with you, Joe. Why not Jon Rahm? You know, of all the guys you listed, I could come up with, a couple issues that I have where grabbing a green jacket seems a little bit of a stretch. You know, Niemann, everyone's calling him a top 5 golfer in the world. He uses a low ball flight, and he has no top 10s in any major championship, and he's got about 25 of them on his resume. You know, Brooks, I mean, I think the only difference between Brooks and DJ is that Brooks doesn't put it on Instagram. I just wonder whether or not he's super fired up in order to compete at that level. And I don't mean that he's not here and he wants to win a green jacket. What I mean is that, is he putting in the time and effort that a Scotty and a Rory are day after day after day, because he only does compete a couple times a year over there on LIV. For me, Rahm is the guy, if you're looking for a winner out of LIV. I mean, the guy is so consistent. Every start, he top 10s or he wins. He's been absolutely fantastic. People might be thrown off about how he finished at Doral. He had a quad on his second to last hole on Sunday. So he had an 8 on a par 4, and that threw him down the board a little bit. Otherwise, he would have been in contention to win that thing on a very difficult golf course on a windy day. I love Rahm this week. The odds are a little short, but guess what? It's Augusta, and it's Jon Rahm. There's a reason they're short, because he can win. Further down the board, you start talking about some of those LIV guys. Sergio Garcia is playing some of the best golf of his life. A lot of it has to do with the putter. If you're talking about top 20s here, in the last 5 years, the most profitable top 20 bet is Patrick Reed. He's putting the ball better than ever, and he's hitting the ball really, really well, too. If you're looking for some LIV action, that's where I would center my attention. For me, my 2 early leans on the early line, the first one, the X-Man's going to give it to you, all right? Xander Schauffele. The guy has 2 major championship trophies on his panel, and he's in the 20s. All right, like we always talk about, I don't like the number. How could you not like Xander Schauffele? He wins this week. He'll have 3 of 4. And that hasn't happened since that other guy back in 2000. You did it. This guy, in 30 career major championships, Xander Schauffele has 15 top 10s. 50%, Joe. So if you're just looking to back a guy like a Scotty that's going to get there, but you're going to get 20 to 22 to 25 to 1 on Xander, that's for me. That's one of my early leans. And then everybody, Keith, give me a bomb. Give me a long shot. Well, I don't know about a triple digit, winner here. But guess what? Everyone's all over Sugar Shane Lowry, right? The Irish love him. They love Tommy Fleetwood, Fairway Jesus. They love these guys. But they don't win, right? I'm going after a lefty. And you know how lefties do here. Mike Weir, Phil Mickelson, Bubba Watson, right? Bobby Mack, right? The Mack attack. The Mack daddy is coming to the Masters. Lefty, right? He's got 4 top 11 finishes last 5 starts. He's been absolutely flushing the golf ball, and he's got 2 wins in the last 10 months. One with his dad on the bag, and then he wins his National Open in Scotland. I mean, what more do you want? You're going to take Tommy Fleetwood, who's never won on the tour, and he's going to break through at the Masters, or you got a guy who's got 2 wins in the last 10 months. So I'm going, for me, my early leans on the early line, Xander and Bobby Mack. Thoughts?
Utah, I got 2 names for you I'll throw out because I'm shocked not more people are talking about him. Ludwig Aberg and JT. JT playing some great golf here.
So we'll go bull and bear, right? I'll go with the bear first. I'm not hot on Ludwig right now. Everybody knows at Read the Line that I love the kid. I absolutely do. But there's a trend from last year. In all 4 majors, he lost strokes around the green. I've stated it a million times this week. You've got to be good chipping and pitching of the golf ball. Plus, he's missed his last 2 cuts. At that level of odds, it's all based upon last year's runner-up and the fact that he won the Genesis. Since the Genesis, he just hasn't been that great. Now, JT, on the other hand, those 2 Keith's keys from the beginning, 2 of them were approach, and they were, around the green acumen. So, what are we talking about? JT's top 5 in the world at both. You want to ride a roller coaster. You want a first-round leader that can carry it the whole way? Let's go, JT, baby. I love it.
I love it. Keith Stewart, looking forward to talking to you all week live from the Masters, my man. Enjoy it. Enjoy your time there. It should be one heck of a Masters tournament. We'll have more in the early line next here on the Grid.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Florida won by 6. Houston won by 3. Florida won by 2 last night's international championship game. Third fewest points of a total margin in a Final Four.
The Final Four, both games were phenomenal right to the end. You watch the game on Monday night here in the National Championship game, phenomenal all the way to the end. Sometimes just as a sports fan, as a non-gambler, that's all you can ask for, and that delivered in a big way.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
These guys are barreling everything right now that are hitting well. Pitching is usually ahead of hitting this time of year, but torpedo bats is what we're reading about, Tom, and I think it's hilarious.
Will the pitching be out in front, or are the bats actually this strong? So it's going to develop over the course of weeks. And again, if all teams have the ability to do so, be creative with it and get out there and use it.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
It would bring a lot of money to the tribes, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in the early line here on the SportsGrid Network. We are working on getting Donnie right side back here, but we still got plenty of games to preview heading into what should be a, great final couple of games of the regular season, both in the NBA as well as the NHL. But maybe no more game tonight that folks are going to be interested in outside of what we talked about with the Dallas Mavericks welcoming back Luka and the Lakers tonight. But the other big story we've been talking about is yesterday's absolutely stunning firing of head coach Mike Malone, as well as the general manager Calvin Booth here of the Denver Nuggets. And shockwaves, to say the least, yesterday afternoon when this story broke. And we're talking about a Denver Nuggets team now set to go on the road to face the Sacramento Kings, and they're going to have to do it with a interim head coach in David Alderman, who moves down a chair with the firing of Mike Malone. Now, a 4-game losing streak, basically, of the Denver Nuggets has dropped them into a 6-team battle royale of the Western Conference here, vying to try to land home court advantage in the playoffs, or at the very least avoid the play-in round. So they are going to have to show up and show out. And maybe one of the better things about this game here tonight for Denver is that it's not at home. It is on the road, and sometimes in these situations makes life a little bit easier to get away from all the noise and the local media here. So now they can go to Sacramento. It's a short number, as you can see, 3 and 234 and a half. But the reality is there's a lot of problems with this Nuggets team. And as long as you have the Joker, you've always got a shot at not only winning a game, but even winning a short series. But it feels like where there is smoke, there is fire here. I don't trust Sacramento at all. I do trust that one of the great ways to avoid all the craziness is to win and win convincingly. And I think that's what Denver does here tonight, especially with the Joker, who's posting, 30 points a game, 13 rebounds, 11 assists. He just came off that 61 point, 10 rebound, 10 assist game versus Minnesota in a losing effort. Also, he put up 41, 15, and 13 versus Indiana after that. Yeah, good luck, Sacramento, tonight, who is battling around that 500 record. I see nothing but Denver and a lot of Denver here tonight to get it done against Sacramento. If you move down the board, how about the Houston Rockets here tonight, also getting ready to do battle against the suddenly red hot LA Clippers here. And you just gotta love the Clippers, right? They finally get a healthy Kawhi Leonard ready to go here. And boy, what a difference this guy makes. He's an absolute sniper. And this game, by the way, has a whole lot of playoff implications right now. I believe as high as 4th place in the Western Conference, and maybe a home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs for the LA Clippers. That is what is at stake here as they'll host those Rockets here tonight. They have won 15 of their past 18 games. They have the number 4 spot in the Western Conference because of a unbelievable 4-team tiebreaker right now. As you look at those Western Conference standings, it is crazy. Now, Houston already has clinched the number 2 spot when they beat the Lakers, or rather when the Lakers ended up losing to Oklahoma City last night. So Houston locked into the 2. It's the Clippers here who are trying to vie to make sure that they hold on to that home playoff spot, get that number 4 seed, and they can do that at home here tonight against a Rockets team that might, listen, they're still a little young here. I still think that Houston is a very dangerous team when the playoffs come, but I don't think there's any more dangerous team right now than the LA Clippers with Kawhi Leonard and Powell and Harden. And is it me, or are these guys playing some of their best basketball that we have seen here? So this, I think, is going to be a good one tonight here with the Clippers. My money is with them, even though it's a big number, 7.5 right now. Again, Houston maybe did a little celebrating last night on locking up the number 2 seed. I don't think you're going to see that from the LA Clippers. I think they want to handle business and move on. And then, of course, the second of a back-to-back for those Oklahoma City Thunder here is what you've got to look as they take on the Phoenix Suns, who, can we be realistic here? The only question you have in this game is who in the world might be playing for OKC, and how bad do you think the Phoenix Suns are going to lose this game, because it has not been good. Both these teams played 24 hours ago, but if we're being realistic, I'm kind of shocked this number is only at 10, if we're being honest. But there's got to be a lot of question marks about OKC and what are they willing to roll out there here tonight, although they have shown in this spot all year long that when they are on the second of back-to-backs, and certain guys like SGA and others and Hartenstein might not be playing, it really doesn't make a difference. They still steamroll teams here, and I got to believe that I don't think that's going to be any different against Phoenix here tonight. I'd probably also look at the over as we welcome back in Donnie Rightside here. And Donnie, hey! I mean, second of a back-to-back for both these teams, only I trust OKC to get it done way more than Phoenix.
No, exactly. And that's because you're saying to a team that's ramping up for the playoffs. Yes, they're the number 1 overall seed, but also there's still a lot to play for, which includes their bench players getting back into the mode at this point. And one team that I don't want to take a look at is the Phoenix Suns, not making the playoffs. There's no chance that they can do that. So now you just got to tank out the rest of the season. So one team at least has half the skin in the game. The other team with none in the game, Joe. Absolutely, for myself, you got to lean that direction at this point here tonight. By the way, did you get a chance to talk about the Sixers and the Wizards tonight? How about that barn burner? Did you get into that one without me?
Are they even still playing in the league? I thought they were demoted. Weren't they on a totally different league now? Yeah, no, that should be a good one. Although Washington did almost pull the upset as an 18.5-point dog last night against the Indiana Pacers. So maybe we shouldn't sleep on them just yet, Donnie.
No, by the way, the Philadelphia 76ers now a 3-game lead, as you want to call it here, for the bottom of the standings against the Brooklyn Nets, who won yesterday. So I actually think I agree, Joe, with that point spread of the Sixers favored by 1.5. They can actually, they're allowed to win this game. I think they will. Miami Heat, Chicago Bulls, 565, 566 on the rotation. 8 o'clock start tonight. The Heat were favored overnight at the FanDuel Sportsbook, Joe, 2.5 points. That's now down to 1 and a total of 227. And he looks here from the Heat Bulls.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Miami Heat. I love what we've seen from them down the stretch. I mean, basically the Bulls, the Hawks, and Miami all locked into that 8, 9, 10 spot at this point. So every win matters here. The Bulls played last night, didn't play everybody, so they did rest a few guys, but Miami has the rest advantage. I like the spot for them here. It's all about the Heat for me.
Yeah, not too bad there. By the way, Boston Celtics last night with a big victory here over the New York Knicks, but now only locked into the second seed in the Eastern Conference playoff standings. They're taking on the Magic. Look at this line, Joe. 3.5 overnight from the FanDuel Sportsbook as a favorite towards the Celtics, as high as 7s across the board, but we're currently showing 6.5 now as a favorite towards the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, and Orlando playing, I love what I see from Orlando, who is playing meaningful basketball here, Donnie, in April, heading into the playoffs. It's kind of crazy to think here, and listen, the Boston, they laid it all out there last night to come back and win that game in overtime. I don't think we get the same effort here tonight. Even though we're laying 5, it still feels like Orlando is the right side here.
Gick, down the stretch they come in the NBA, jockeying for playoff positioning. Who's playing tonight? Who's out? Keep an eye on that and make sure you might want to hold off on those wagers until you see who maybe can play tonight once those official rosters do come out. We'll find out with that. But Major League Baseball also in play. It's cold, people. But we'll heat it up next on the early line with some handicaps right here on the early line.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
It would bring a lot of money to the tribe, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Florida won by 6, Houston won by 3, Florida won by 2 last night in the national championship game. Third fewest points of a total margin in a Final Four.
The Final Four, both games were phenomenal right to the end. You watch the game on Monday night here in the national championship game, phenomenal all the way to the end. Sometimes just as a sports fan, as a non-gambler, that's all you can ask for, and that delivered in a big way.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
After every round, you guys were still up in each other's face, mouthing off before you went back to your corners, trying to get not just the last punch, but the last word. What was the move between you guys? Obviously, you're in there for your fight.
It didn't cut him. It didn't stunt him. A point wasn't taken away. There's no reason to even mention something like that. You're in a brawl. Things are happening. Accidents happen.
Only on SportsGrid.
The signal is strong, baby, right here on the early line. Well, for the time being, it is strong. It's Donnie right side of show in here. A little Major League Baseball action here. Full card today. By the way, Joe, a lot of afternoon action taking place today, which I guess it's better to be at 35 degrees than 25 degrees, as when sundown, it gets a little bit cooler. We're going to try to heat things up on the early line. That includes Texas taking on Chicago in the windy city of Chicago, which is windy, but actually the wind's blowing out today at 12 miles per hour. The past couple of days, it's been cold and the wind blowing in. Chance of some precipitation, but a balmy 43 today, which is fantastic. Molly versus Imanaga on the mound today. The FanDuel Sportsbook overnight opened this line at a minus 156 price. Currently sits at minus 156, so no change here. A total at 8.5. Actually dropped to 7.5 now. So colder temperatures, wind is blowing out. But it looks like maybe more offense today. We had some yesterday for sure.
This total cracks me up. The market has been betting every one of these games in this series to the under, and they did it when the Padres were in town the series prior. And what did we get? We got nothing but overs. And the one game that might be an under here, and it's only because I think you're putting Imanaga on the mound here, which I think gives you your best shot at keeping this total down. But you got to love it. Cubs going for a sweep over the Texas Rangers, who'd they throw out? Patrick Corbin on the mound yesterday. And actually, he didn't pitch all that bad, but Imanaga is a different animal here. Getaway day kind of situation. Feels like the under is the right play. Maybe even a first 5 under in this one.
Yeah, how about this one today? Yesterday, did get a lot of runs. Again, cooler conditions at Citi Field today. If we're taking a look at some of the updates here, let me just get clued into this. 43 degrees, balmy. By the end of the game, Joe, 48. What's the complaints here? Wind blowing in at about 6 to 7 miles per hour. No rain in the forecast today. But if we are looking at setting up the tide for this game, overnight line, minus 230 is a heavy favorite for the Mets once again, as they were yesterday. That current line sits at 225. Most outlets between 225 to 230, but a total of 7 runs. Meyer versus McGill, chillier temperatures. Do we get the same sort of offensive output from the Metropolitans again today, Joe?
I mean, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? We all didn't think the Marlins would be almost 500 at this point anyway. But the Mets rolling for another sweep here, going for their 7th win in a row. And Tyler McGill on the mound for them has actually been He was pretty decent here. So, yes, the Mets should have no problem in an early afternoon game handling business here and getting it done once again against a offensive-less Miami team who's not going to home run their way over the Mets in this one.
No, and you take a look at McGill, too. Last year, average pitcher, which is fine. You'll take that through 364 batters. This year, Joe, 40 batters he's faced, really good. 057 ISO power number, weighted on base percentage, 198. And then you're right. You take a look at that Miami offense with most of these guys, at least 20 at-bats against right-handed pitching on this young season. Let me read you the ISOs here. 125, 130, 0, 150, 0, 125, 182 is a bright spot, 095, and 0. Good luck hitting in this environment for the Fish today at Citi Field. Maybe a nice little win streak does continue for the New York Mets. Keeping it moving down in D.C. today. Could it be a bounce-back effort for the Dodgers? Knack is on the mound versus Irving. 9s across the board here at the FanDuel Sportsbook on the totals. And a favorite, which opened up at minus 162 overnight, actually now sits at minus 174. So a lot of movement to that graphic that we have here, but the 9 still stands as a total. Bounce back in order for you today for those Dodgers.
There's you see the theme here, Donnie. This is another sweep possibility here with the Washington Nationals here. So, I mean, why not? Listen, it's been a hot mess for the Dodgers the last couple of games here against the Nats. They were really good at home. This trip has been a little suspect here, but you've got Knack on the mound. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Oh, let me just say it right now. Washington is crushing the ball. I got no problem backing it over in this game.
Yeah, by the way, talking about crushing the baseball is right. James Wood yesterday launching a few into the seats yesterday as the Dodgers try to get back today. The one thing you take a look at Jake Irving on the mound. Last year, through about 400 batters, did struggle with left-handed batters. This season, 26 batters from the left-hand side, still struggling there. Maybe a focus on Shohei Ohtani, Michael Conforto, Max Muncy as lefties in that lineup today. 53 degrees in Washington, Joe, with a 5-mile-an-hour wind blowing out to dead center field. We'll see if that makes an impact in this game as we continue to move 2-4. The New York Yankees struggled yesterday with Tarek Skubal. Fried on the mound versus Flaherty, and a total of 7 listed. The overnight line, -136. The line right now, -154 as a favorite towards those New York Yankees. We getting some offense today from the Yanks, Joe. What do you think?
Well, they better get more offense than they got yesterday because they're not good there for a team that looks, Donnie, a lot like we're going back to the home run or not, right? If we hit home runs, we score 12 runs. If we don't hit any home runs, we're getting shut out here. If I'm Max Fried, I got to limit everything here because the inconsistency right now for the Yankees is too much. I do love the matchup, Flaherty against Fried. You would think this would land us under this spot, but I do think the Yankees salvage at least a win in this series here in this game.
And by the way, Joe, afternoon action also, 3:35 Eastern, so it'll be 12:35 out on the West Coast. That's the Padres and that's the A's. Not really handicapping this, but it looks like we're finally starting to catch up from an odds maker perspective. The reason I bring that up is overnight line 9.5. It's now 10. We very rarely see 10s outside of Coors in Major League Baseball. Could we be at the precipice of one of those ultimate hitting ballparks that over the summer, you're not going to get anything less than 9.5s or 10s at this point, Joe?
No, it's going to become Coors Field rather quickly. It may be better than Coors Field rather quickly here. You're going to get all these totals in double digits coming up as the games continue to roll on out here in Sacramento. And if it ain't broke, Donnie, why are we fixing it? What makes us think we're all of a sudden going to get a pitcher's battle in any game here involving this Athletics team?
Ride those streaks, man. The 8.5s, the 9s gone, 10s across the board. People can't wait to bet into that. And by the way, temperatures out there probably a little bit warmer today in the afternoon as opposed to the evening here. Something to keep an eye on. Also, big series down in Atlanta will continue today. Yesterday, you saw the Atlanta Braves knock off the Philadelphia Phillies. Taijuan Walker, who was terrible last year, solid in his first start. We'll see if he can keep that solid start moving against Atlanta. Brings Holmes to the mound. 8.5 is a total, Joe. Down on the launch pad. Maybe feels like an over to me. But you know what is over? Me on the early line. Power up with Joe Ranieri next. Let's keep the good vibes going.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
We know what Chris Sale can bring. I was personally high on Schwallenbach. Smith-Shawver, their other starter, looks okay to kind of bad. They need to I don't want to say tread waters. I think that puts it in a bad light, but that's what they ultimately need to do. They need to tread water until Strider gets back, until Acuna gets back, and maybe it's just part of the team morale mentality that we're not at full strength. We need to kick things into gear once those guys get here.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
These guys are barreling everything right now that are hitting well. Pitching is usually ahead of hitting this time of year, but torpedo bats is what we're reading about, Tom, and I think it's hilarious.
Will the pitching be out in front, or are the bats actually this strong? So it's going to develop over the course of weeks. And again, if all teams have the ability to do so, be creative with it and get out there and use it.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
After every round, you guys were still up in each other's face, mouthing off before you went back to your corners, trying to get not just the last punch, but the last word. What was the mood between you guys? Obviously, you're in there for your fright.
It didn't cut him. It didn't stunt him. A point wasn't taken away. There's no reason to even mention something like that. You're in a brawl. Things are happening. Accidents happen.
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in here, the early line, as we look to close out this edition together. Much going on still in the world of sports here as we're getting ready for a lot of afternoon Major League Baseball. We've got the final couple of NBA regular season games coupled with the final couple of NHL regular season games. The playoffs are just around the corner in both of those leagues, but we don't have to wait too long for some baseball action here today, as we are going to get about 12:35 today. The Cardinals on the road taking on the Pirates here today. They will be back in action, and the Pirates, a little surprising. They usually just line up W's every time Paul Skeens gets to the mound. Well, didn't work out well for them yesterday. Today, Mitch Keller taking the mound for him, and Eric Fetty is going to go for the St. Louis Cardinals, who have been absolutely crushing the ball, and not exactly what I thought. I mean, this was a team, the Cardinals, that I thought I'd be looking for a lot of spots to fade them at some point this season, but the bats are absolutely red hot with them. So could be a long, long day for both these pitchers, who are both coming off of rough outings, to say the least here. But Fetty looking to bounce back against this Pirates team, who so far has had a hard time scoring runs, which is, of course, what you have to do in order to be able to win some games. We talked about the amount of sweeps on the board here today in these games. The Yankees could be on the verge of being swept. The Marlins also on the verge of being swept. The Rangers with having to go up against Imanaga on the mound here today at Wrigley. Not an easy out for them. And then, of course, the Diamondbacks and the Orioles going at it here today. Brendan Pfaadt on the mound for the Arizona Diamondbacks, taking on Kremer. And 9.5 was the total last night. Turned out to be a 4-3 game last night. We thought there would be a few more runs in that game in Arizona, as they have had the roof closed there. But it feels like with these two guys on the mound, both guys hovering around a 6 ERA, both guys have gotten hit early and often in their outings. And it feels like this could be maybe the highest scoring game of the series here, as I am looking for another over in that one for a mid-afternoon classic. And I think the first pitch in that one is going to be right around the 3:40 start time there. The Reds and Giants are another interesting one. How about Verlander, who's had some mixed results so far in a couple of outings that he's had this week, so far this season? 48, 9 years old. Maybe he's 41, 42. The bottom line is he hasn't won or lost a game yet, but at the same time, he's going up against a Reds team who luckily was able to finally scratch out a run yesterday. And that was all they needed, because the Giants couldn't get any runs across at Oracle Park. That was a 1-0 Reds win last night. And usually when it comes to 1-0 games, the Reds on the outside looking in, they are the ones that have been shut out. I think it was 3 consecutive 1-0 losses they had last week. They've returned the favor to the Giants there, but you got Martinez on the mound for the Reds going up against Verlander of the Giants. 7.5 is that total, and I'd be shocked with these two teams if they can get that many runs. That is a 3:45 Eastern time start. And we did watch, of course, the Guardians walk off a solo home run yesterday against the White Sox. And boy, that was a lot closer at Progressive Field than anybody who paid money for a ticket wanted it to be yesterday. Logan Allen going for the Guardians here tonight up against Burke. Still a $2 favorite, though, the Guardians. Still the better bullpen, still the better team. Problem is they got to go out and score some runs. I think they'll do it today against the White Sox. And the Blue Jays and Red Sox going to do battle once again. Gausman versus Houck should be a fun one here. Toronto gets a $500 million man, all of a sudden figures out how to hit the ball. Will that continue against Houck here? And Gausman, will he last more than 3 innings in this start here against a hot Red Sox lineup. So much to be determined here today. A lot of Major League Baseball, a lot of afternoon baseball, so get ready. But we are just getting started here on the Sports Grid Network. Much more coming your way. The early line back again tomorrow. Until then, enjoy the games. We'll see you again soon.